What's going on, guys? It's your boy Ethan. Hope you're having a great day. Today is going to be a really fun one. I'm here at the Wynn, back in Las Vegas, back in the States, playing a tournament. It's a $3,000 PKO, Progressive Knockout Tournament. Basically, it's a $3,000 buy-in. $1,000 of each buy-in goes into a bounty. It's progressive. If you knock more people out, your bounty gets bigger. You get the other person's bounty. It's big. You're incentivized to knock as many people out as possible. Spoiler alert, I'm actually in on my second bullet today. First bullet, I came in, I tried to bluff someone all in, and it didn't work out. But we're going to fast forward into the second bullet. So I'm into this tournament for $6,000. So click that like button. It's going to be a long video. Hope you enjoy it. Lots of all-ins, lots of action. It's a lot of fun. Let's get into it. Bullet 2 off to a hot start here as I peel pocket aces early in the tournament. I raised it up to 1,100 and I get the button who's the chip leader. Very aggressive in this PKO format. 3 bets to 3,000. And you know what's even better? The small blind announces an all-in of 20,000. Absolute dream spot here with aces. I decided to just make the call of the 20,000. It leaves a little bit of my chips back behind, but maybe could induce the button to go all in or do something so she can get 2 bounties on the line. Anyways, the button does end up shoving as she covers both myself and the small blind. And of course, I make the call with aces and it's a 3-way all in. The button who covers me has queen 10 off suits and the small blind with pocket 7s, and I flop top set somehow. I fade all the outs possible and win for basically a full triple up almost and a bounty on top of that. I win the small blind's bounty of $500 into my pocket in a full double up versus the button player. Such an amazing start. If only all tournaments had a smooth start like this with a full triple up. But here we are. Chip stack is growing. The green chips are bounty chips and the pink chips are redeemable for $250 each. Getting after it, the very next hand, I pick up ace queen of spades in level 5. I raise up to 1,400. Player to my left makes the call, and the button goes all in for like 15,000. Big blind reshoves for 25,000, and let's get after the bounties again. This is going to be a 3-way all in as I isolate and shove, and back-to-back 3-way all-ins. Here we go. Can I win this one? The button has Jack 8 and the big blind has Ace Jack. So I actually have both of them dominated with the very best hand right now. Let's hold.
No, I couldn't mush him.
No mush. That's me.
Dealer brings out the flop, turn, and river, and it's a double KO. Ace Queen ends up holding here in this spot for another double KO. I get 1,000 in bounties in this hand and more chips. Absolute sick start with 3 bounties already after the first 2 significant hands. Hey guys, quick interruption to thank AG1 for sponsoring today's video. AG1 is a comprehensive daily nutrition made powerfully simple. It's made up of 75 high quality whole food sourced ingredients, including vitamins, minerals, superfood, probiotics, and adaptogens, carefully curated to nourish all of the body's systems holistically. AG1 solved 2 of the most important health needs: the nutrients your body needs and the foundation of long-term gut health. I personally think essential daily routines like AG1 help us set our intentions and keep us moving forward in a healthy direction. When we're feeling our best, we show up better. And honestly, I started drinking AG1 routinely every morning last summer. When I was going on a little bit of a downswing, I was recommended AG1 to help be more focused with decision making, and scientifically, the product includes vital stress adaptogens, minerals, and vitamins that enhance focus, cognition, and alertness. In layman's terms, I feel significantly better when I start my mornings with AG1. The product is pretty easy to use. You just add 1 scoop of AG1 in the provided bottle, fill it up with water, and voila. We've got the drink here that I'm going to start drinking this morning. You're ready to go. Honestly, it actually is enjoyable to drink and helps you feel better, so kind of a win-win overall. So go to athleticgreens.com/rampage to get started on your order today. AG1 is actually going to give anyone that signs up using that link a 1-year supply of vitamin D3 and K2. And on top of that, 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. So big thank you to AG1 for sponsoring this video. Let's get back to the hands. This PKO format only induces action, and here in this next hand, there's a button open of 1,700, small blind 3 bets of 5,500, and I have 7s in the big blind. I decide to go all in as both players are relatively short. I'm all in. Small blind makes the call with ace king, and it's a flip. Got to win another one for a bounty, and the pot is going to be huge as well. And he ends up flopping an ace, and I fail to improve. I double up my opponent here, unfortunately. He had about 40,000 to start the hands, about 50 big blinds. So this was definitely a very big pot to play. Could have been a 100 big blind pot to take down, but now I lose about a quarter of my stack. And I also would have won a $750 bounty in this one, but it's time to rebuild because the next hand, it's another pair. It's jacks this time. I raise it up to 1,800, play to my left, makes the call, who's big stacked, and then the cutoff now goes all in for about 16,000. Action folds to me, and let's get after this bounty. Jacks is a very good hand. I decided to reshove and isolate, expecting a fold all the time from my opponent, in which she luckily does. And I see amazing news. We're up against pocket 10s, so an 80% chance to pick up these chips and bounty, and the run out comes clean. Knockout number 4 of the day. I have $2,000 in bounties locked up, so I'm almost break even from the buy-in of this tournament, and it's not even late reg yet. So let's go over how this PKO works. My personal bounty grows every single time I knock someone out. So now my personal bounty is worth 3,000 when it's normally 1,000 to start the tournament. So as my chip stack grows, people are also more incentivized to try to knock me out as well. Next hand, it's another all-in. We have ace-5 of diamonds. There's an early position shove of 12,000. Only 10 big blinds at this stage of the tournament, and I want that bounty. I reshove my hand. Everyone else ends up folding, or see we're up against pocket 7s. So we're going to need to hit something here as we're slightly behind, and sadly, the 7s are going to win. Flopped to 5, but couldn't improve after that, so I lose a little bit back, but certainly worth the gamble in this PKO format. I'm back down to 80,000 in chips. Hey guys, late reg just finished. We're on a little bit of a break. Because card, you can hear break is over. I'm gonna go back and play, but late reg is over. I have 100K, and we're getting closer to the money. We'll see. So I'm gonna hop in there because the dealer is literally dealing cards. With late reg over, the prize pool has been announced. 15 players make the money, $62,000 for first place, plus the bounties. And let's get into trying to stack more people as I pick up pocket 6s in the cutoff. There's an early position player whom I keep doubling up. He goes all in for 15,000. Here, with the pair, I'm going to try to isolate again off of a short stack and pick up his bounty. I shove, and then the big blind actually wakes up with the hand and goes all in as well for 30,000. He's got 20 big blinds and have a potential to knock 2 people out somehow. The big blind with the bigger stack has pocket 8s, which is not good to see. The early position player has ace jack, so I need a 6 to knock out 2 players, and no 6 for me. So I lose my pocket 6s to 8s and ace jack. My chip stack is all the way down to 60,000, which is pretty crazy. I have about 30 big blinds and a dream with the blind increasing extremely fast. And when we get a little bit short stacked, about 55,000 next in the next level, I have king 10 offsuit and the small blind action folds to me. This is the opponent that covers me. She understands PKOs really well, so she's extra incentivized to stack me and play a wide range. So I decided to raise this one up to 6,000, understanding that my opponent is going to be calling down with anything to try to get my bounty. She does end up making the call, and we're going to a flop of queen 9 3 2 hearts. Pretty decent board for me, I think. I have an overcard, I have a gut shot straight draw, and this is definitely a board that my opponent can miss. I bet 5,000 hoping she completely whiffed, but no whiff here, unfortunately. She does end up making the call. That is before we see the Bink Black Jack sitting with the nuts straight somehow, drilling the gutter ball. Here's to hoping my opponent can call off and have a good hand. I decided to bet 13,000 now, basically sizing all in on the river if my opponent calls, but no need because she jams herself, snip, snap, make the call with the nuts straight, and my opponent shows Jack 3 for a pretty sick cooler to turn 2 pair and get it all in. Just have to fade the 4 outer for a clean double up, and it comes. Fat double up here, have well over 100,000 chips now, and it was much, much needed. Sadly, though, the very next heel, I pick up ace 3 of spades. The same opponent in the small blind, 3 bets at 20,000. I make the call and see a king 10 6 rainbow flop. I lose 20,000 right back to my opponent, but oh well, still feels good to double up in the king 10 hand. Progressing now to level 12, skipping a few levels, I pick up king queen offsuit in the cutoff with about 18 big blinds. The cutoff opened to 8,000 here. The same opponent who's been very aggressive and active. She was the opponent on my left in the previous table, but here we've been battling, and for that reason, I decide to go all in. This is a little bit of a lighter shove than normal here, but I think my opponent can call a little bit wider because of how big my bounty is. So I'm all in. My opponent ends up making the call with an inferior hand of queen jack suited, have her dominated, and let's win a big all in here. Run out comes, and the king high is going to hold and win. Very, very fat double up. I'm back over 140,000, and a few deals later, I get involved in a very tricky one. I'm in an early position, and I peel pocket queens. The situation here is that there's a 9,000 stack that I want to induce a shove from. So for those reasons, I decided to limp here, disguise the strength in my hand, and well, my limp induces the player to my left to immediately raise things up to 15,000. The short stack ends up going all in for 9,500, and now mayhem occurs. Because of this short stack being in here and everyone wanting his bounty, well, the two players in the blind end up making the call on a big stack. So we have 5 people in this pot, and I'm sitting to close out the action after my limp in the beginning. Well, sitting with about 140,000, and this is the perfect storm and great spot to squeeze. I decided to just isolate and go all in. Maybe hoping someone else might have a big hand, but at the very least, I get to isolate 4 other opponents and go heads up against the short stack, which would be huge. And what ends up happening is that no one around the table calls. The small stack shows king jack offsuit, and let's run it.
And right now, he's got the camera out here. Go ahead and take a picture of me. Thank you.
I hope you win.
You
deserve it. After yesterday.
Ooh. Oh, all sorts of sweats. Nice hand.
I spike a set and win this one, take down the bounty, and chip up to over 200,000 chips. A very, very nice occurrence to have here. Isolate against a short stack and suck out on the river. And just like that, take down another bounty and all the chips in the middle. Okay, guys, we're not going to play an all-in hand here, or at least not yet. So we actually get to play some real poker. We're playing 5-handed, and I'm on the button with 10-9 of hearts. Cutoff with about 200,000 in a stack opens it up to 8,000. I decide to call, and we're going to a flop of 10-7-6, 2 clubs, and a diamond. My opponent checks it over to me here, and with top pair and a good blocker with a straight draw, I decided to fire out a bet of 12,000. And upon my 12,000 bet, my opponent actually takes the initiative and check raises to 32,000 right off the bat. Very interesting spot here, as my opponent could have, I guess, an overpair, maybe a flush draw, but here with top pair and a very good kicker, which is a 9, I block some straights and I have more equity with a straight draw. I decide to make the call. Turn comes the 6 of diamonds, which is not the best card in the world. I think this card should favor the opponent more than myself. It removes combinations of sets that I could have, and he continues again for 45,000. Interesting dicey spot here. I guess I could potentially just fold a lot of the time, but it's very opponent specific. I think my opponent is going to be capable of bluffing, and my hand specifically blocks a lot of good value. So I decided to make the call once again, as I can always make a straight. I can always bluff with my hand. We're going to see a river, which is the 3 of clubs. So the front door flush gets there, which is not ideal. My opponent goes deep into the tank and thinks about it before checking. That is very, very interesting. I expected him to triple barrel all 3 streets here, but I don't think my hand wants to bet, nor should it, I don't think. Top pair is good enough to take the showdown. If I bet, then I'd probably be bluffing, and that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So I check back, and my opponent shows the 8-9 of clubs. Wow, just everything. Flop the straight with the flush draw, binks the flush on the river, and luckily I didn't lose more this hand, but this was a hurtful one. Stack is down to 120,000 entering dinner break. All right, it's dinner break. I had a taste of 200,000 chips for a brief second. By brief second, I mean like maybe 2 hands, 3 hands max. But that 10-9 hand sucked. That was like the only hand I've played post-flop today, and I lost. Who would have thought? Anyways, 26 players left. We're on dinner break right now for an hour. 15 players make the money, and it's a sweat because I don't have many chips. About 20 big blinds when we come back, so that's all. We're gonna have an hour-long break and then get back to the cards. That's been a wild session. Gotta love these PKOs. So much action, a lot of all-ins. It's fun. After dinner break, we see the board. There are 17 players left, which means that we are 2 away from the money. I have just over 20 big blinds, and it's a sweat. Now, sitting with 20 big blinds, 16 players left now. 1 player just busted, and we are on the stone bubble, which doesn't last too long, actually. So the bubble ends up bursting right here, with ace-king winning and ace-jack being eliminated. Then on the very other table, though, we see another all-in at the same time, 8s versus ace-king, and 8s ends up holding. So just like that, 2 players bust at the same time. The bubble has bursted, and there's already 14 players left, and we're in the money. Starting off in the money, we might play another all-in pot because I pick up pocket 9s under the gun 7. I raise it up to 16,000, and then there's a button player, Asian fella, who've had a lot of history with. He ships it all in. His stack is about 400,000 total, announcing a massive all-in. And, well, here we are. Action folds to me. I just can't imagine this guy to be shoving all in with a premium hand. Like if he had aces or kings, wouldn't he want to try to get some more value? So I close my eyes and run it. Hope we're flipping. Hopefully he has a worse hand and he shows ace king. This is going to be a really big all-in. We just made the money, and it's valuable to build a stack to try to get more bounties. So trying to win this flip, and I flop a full house. That's great timing to have pocket 9s here. I'm going to hold and win this one, and just like that, now I have almost 400,000 chips in my stack, cruising along deep in this tournament. This next hand you're going to see is quite the interesting one because I have 9-5 offsuit in the cutoff. It's a big blind with a very short stack. Trying to see a flop against the big blind opponent, I decide to limp in. Surprisingly, everyone else behind me ends up folding, and the big blind goes all in for 51,000. Well, it's a 5 big blind call for a $4,000 bounty. Of course, I'm in here with any 2. I make the call, and we see we're up against ace-8 offsuit. So it's kind of like a coin flip, and I have clean outs, and we've just got to hit a pair or something, and it doesn't come, surprisingly. Unfortunate to double up my opponent here, but certainly worth the gamble as his bounty was worth so much, but I don't hit a 9 or 5.
Hey, so you guys didn't see much that happened, but on the other table that I wasn't part of, they knocked out like 4 players in like a couple hands. So now we're at the final table. Final 9, locked up 7,000 without the bounties. First place is 62,000 up top. There's a lot of chips over there. There's a lot of good players in this final table. I've got like 25 big blinds, or 35 big blinds actually. I don't know how many big blinds I have. I have 300K, or a little bit more than 300K right now. So yeah, final 9, 62,000 and bounties up top and the win trophy. Let's run good, win some flips. It's going to be a pretty deep one. Everyone has so many chips. I literally need to show you guys how ridiculous the chip stacks are. So ridiculous.
Here at this final table, this clip, starting off, we see aces versus pocket 3s set over set for a monster pot for the first knockout of this final table. We go from 9 players to 8 players, and the very next clip, you'll see ace king ends up getting cracked by king jack, and that's our second knockout of this final table. There are 7 players left, and now eyes on me as I am the next shortest stack with about 12 big blinds getting card death the round. I peel 4-5 offsuit in the big blind. Can't really play this hand, but I see some magic after some complaining. Pocket kings in the cutoff. Beautiful spot to be in. I raise it up to 30,000, and as expected, I'm going to get action here as I'm the shortest stack. The big blind, who's the chip leader, makes the call. We're off to a flop of 9-8-4 rainbow. My opponent checks it over to me here, and I'm going to bet really small, just 20,000. I have a short stack, don't need to do anything crazy, and my opponent puts me all in. Pocket king, snippety snap. Of course, I'm in here. My opponent has 9-5 offsuit for top pair. Look like I'm in a really good spot to double up, and I do. Gotta love it, and no time to waste because the very next shuffle and deal, I get kings again. let's ride out this momentum. There's an under the gun open to 30,000, even better. And right after this double up, I'm going to fight for more chips. I 3-bet to 75,000 as my opponent covers me, and the under the gun player ends up making the call. So we're going to play a big pot in position here, and the flop is Queen 8-4 all clubs. Very, very interesting spot sitting with the king of clubs. It's basically like the nuts here. I have everything going for me with an overpair and also the second nut flush draw. So I decided to bet small once again here to 35,000, and my opponent ends up making the call. So pot is building, SPR of 1 now with a short stack. Turn comes the 3 of spades. My opponent checks it to me once again, and with about 200,000 in my stack and a little bit more than 200,000 in the middle here in the pot, I decided to bet small. 65,000 to go, it leaving me with about 140,000 behind, and my opponent ends up making the call for the 65,000 chip bet. So I'm planning to be all in on the river until that is the ace of hearts on the river. One of the 2 or 3 cards I didn't want to see at all, and even worse is that my opponent lead shoves for about the 140,000 I had left in my stack. And now I don't know what to do. I really don't know what to do. I'm hating my life here in this spot. What bluffs does my opponent have? How could I possibly ever win with just pocket kings here? I mean, it seems ridiculous to fold, but given it's a bounty tournament, he's obviously going all in to try to stack me and get my bounty, right? So I can't imagine any bluffs my opponent can have, and I make a very reluctant and painful fold of kings. I went from expecting to be all in on the river to folding because I saw one of the worst cards I ever wanted to see. And this was a painful one. So my fold now leaves me tied for last in chips versus Foxen, who at about 140,000. But of course, the very next hand, we see Foxen doubling up with ace jack off versus jack 10. So I was actually feeling comfortable for once, but then I am now by far the shortest stack again after Foxen doubles up. A few hands later, we see I have ace 3 of spades in the small blind on about 6 big blinds. Chip leader opens up the pot. Foxen 3-bets on the button, and I hate my life, hate my spot in this situation, but I don't think I have fold equity, but I'm going to go for it, hoping I'm not dominated, hoping for a flip situation. I YOLO all in. Foxen makes the call with ace 6 off suits, and let's run out the board. That's not great. Foxen ends up hitting the 6 on the river, pairing up and winning. GG's. I mean, I was pretty behind on this hand anyways. Maybe a punt here, but I am out in 7th place of this tournament. Unfortunate to not ladder up more. Quick special little message for everyone that made it all the way to the end of this video. I'm going to reward you guys with something here. If you care about it, I am releasing a merch drop. One of the very few merch drops I've ever done. I don't think I think I did one merch drop last year, at the end of last year, but this one I'm really excited about. I've worked really hard on this one, a lot of months planning, and a really cool experience Vegas giveaway that you guys will all hear about soon, but it's coming out next week. I want to give priority access to people who want to sign up early. You get a full 24 hours in extra perks, extra benefits. So go to rampagepokerstore.com. You can insert a phone number or an email, and you'll get a text 24 hours before the drop officially starts to get more information on it. So that's all I have to say. Just want to say I'm really excited about launching this in a couple days, so it's coming out pretty soon. And if you're here, thank you for sticking to the end. Couldn't get it done? I think the last 2 hands are really bad. I don't know. I'm still really questioning that the last king's hand. River decision's weird. Spot's obviously brutal. Don't know how I fold, but I folded. I didn't think the guy just had a bluff. I don't really understand. Because obviously he wants the bounties, and he's not going to shove a queen. And then the ace 3 hand maybe is a little too light, a little too wide. That's probably a mistake. So, yeah. So to go over the numbers, I was in for 2 bullets of $3,000 to buy in. I ended up placing 7th place, which was about $9,342 to be exact.
And then I also got $2,500 from the bounties. So it's like 12,000 something. Profit on the day, profit on the trip, or profit on this video, profit on the tournament, which is always nice. Couldn't really close it out. Like, I think I just did it to myself. The ace 3, I did it to myself. The kings is like so gross. So there's that. So appreciate you guys for tuning in. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I'm still really questioning that king's hand, but live and you learn. We're on to the next one. Appreciate us for sweating along. This is a very, very long video. So if you made it this far, hit that like button, subscribe if you're new to the channel, all of that fun stuff. It's always much appreciated. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.